Paul, Beth, thanks very much for sharing your time with us this morning. Now, your type of church plant was actually a type of rebuilding, if you like, a repotting on top of an older work. Can you tell us a bit about the challenges associated with that?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of great things about it, but definitely some challenges. I think the main challenge is probably the most obvious challenge, and that is when we got to Chest Hill, we kind of inherited 20 or 25 existing church members. They're wonderful people, absolutely, they're godly and lots of great people there, but they've all been there for 40, 50, 60 years, and over that time, of course, they've developed a particular culture and it's deeply ingrained in them, and it affects everything that they do. So they've got a very particular way of doing things, as you would. Now, they don't want the church to die. Us coming and planting this multicultural family service next to the other one is a way that might not happen. But this new thing is very different, and it's constantly kind of pushing up against or I don't know how to put it, but rubbing against how they're used to doing things, and that causes a lot of tension sometimes, and so we need to work through that, and that takes time. So that's a main challenge. Other things, you know, we've inherited this building that was stuck with the back of the street that's not visible, and things like that, but they're just minor.
What sort of ways did you think of to bring new connections into that sort of community?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tricky thing that we had to think through. One of the ways that we try to do that well, I guess, as well as possible, is we wanted to bring a team that kind of represented the demographics of the suburb that we're moving into. So multicultural families, I mentioned before. So we did that, and also encouraging our team to be highly invested in this suburb. So a couple of people bought houses and others moved into the area. That's been really helpful to connect cross-culturally here. In saying that, it's been relatively easy as a team. I think our suburb is fairly contained, I guess, in some ways, and values community. So that's been easy, but there are still very lonely people, particularly migrants. You know, Beth was telling me your friend from whereabouts?
From Playtime.
Yeah, but what country?
Oh, she's from Sudan.
Sudan, yeah. Beth was telling me, she was saying, look, back in Sudan, there's corruption, there's suffering, but at least she was happy, you know? So very lonely people. So we've tried to do some things like take bus trips, take people on bus trips to the Blue Mountains, a lot of meals, things like that. The other thing that we've done, which is a bit unusual, I suppose, is offer driving lessons for migrants and refugees. So they can't get a job because they probably need a license. They can't get driving lessons because they got no money. So what do? So we've offered driving lessons to them, and it's a way of connecting with them. There's just some ideas we got.
Yeah, I think adding to that too, a really key thing has been investing in kids ministry. So we knew, Chester Hill has more kids here than the greater average in Sydney. We knew that they really value family. So I guess, we thought, kids are going to attract kids are going to attract parents, and we really need some momentum to get things started. So it was hard because we had not very many resources, but thinking, we're actually going to invest a significant portion of them into kids' church. But I think under God's grace, we've seen a lot of fruit from that, and I think it's been the right decision.
Yeah, we had no kids when we came, and apart from our own kids. Yes.
Now maybe 40 on a good week, so it's quite chaotic now.
And how's it been working with the multi-ethnic nature of Chester Hill? It's not as if you have 1, 2 or even 3 cultures, sometimes you have more. What's that been like to work with?
Yeah, multicultural ministry is really difficult. So I think we've been looking for lots of resources. A lot of resources will say how to, cross cultures in a monocultural setting, but not so much about a multicultural setting. So I feel like, as with other people, it's been a bit of trial and error and trying to figure out, what we are going to do. So I think by far the probably most obvious and biggest problem is the lack of English. So I'd say half of our service has probably understand very little of our service on Sunday. So
In English.
yeah, because of the lack of English. Yeah, so yeah, about half the service would understand very little of what goes on a Sunday because of the lack of English. So, you know, if you are convicted that the sermon is, you know, God's word transforming people, this is a really significant problem that we have. And we're really trying to think about ways to deal with that. So we have headsets, we translate the service, have a translator there who translated during the service. We use easy English, we use a lot of visuals. But at the same time, we don't want to make it easy English because half our service, easy English doesn't benefit them or they don't have a need for that. So I think where we're at is trying to make the service as friendly and accessible to as many people as we can, but also just feeling this conviction that for people's maturity, we need a lot more than just a Sunday service. So I guess the plan has been to make these smaller monocultural gatherings outside the main gathering on a Sunday. So we have an Arabic, an Islander one, and hopefully we'll soon have a Chinese one. And the aim is for them to be in language, to tailor to beliefs, customs, to really be a place where people can grow and mature. And also a really good place for evangelism. So if the example that comes to mind is our Arabic group. We have a lot of Syrian refugees. And when we do have new Syrian families come into the community, it's easy for them to invite them and say, oh, come join us, meet some Syrian friends, we read the Bible together, rather than, I guess, the jumping straight into the kind of foreignness of the big Sunday gathering. So it's just an easy step before that.
The tricky thing is, though, of course, having you know, mature Christians who speak Chinese and English or Arabic or whatever, you know, in order to lead these groups and see that growth come about. So we're always praying for people who speak many languages, you know, to come and help us out.
Yeah.